Man, I gotta say, Tim Walz is such a weird guy. And he's also a liar, as far as I'm concerned. You see, Tim Walz loves to brag about how great of a pheasant shooter he is.
Talking about guns, I guarantee you he can't shoot pheasants like I can.
And in his goofy attempt to prove to the world that he's this great mythical pheasant shooter, all he ends up doing is proving that he's nothing more than a FUDD who doesn't know anything about how his own shotgun works.
Well, Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz doesn't exactly exude alpha male energy, and his weekend hunting trip hasn't helped.
No, Walz looked more like Elmer Fudd than a real shooter, which, let's be honest, is probably a good thing based on this vision.
My theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff.
You see, in the gun community, FUDD is what we call someone who claims to support some aspect of the Second Amendment, but not others. Basically, those related to modern firearms or the right to own and carry handguns or semi-automatic rifles. The term comes from Elmer Fudd, the Looney Tunes character known for hunting Bugs Bunny with a shotgun. It has evolved to represent people with a comically narrow view of gun ownership, usually focused on hunting or traditional firearms that nobody really cares about anymore, while often dismissing the need for self-defense weapons like AR-15s or concealed carry handguns. And just for kicks, here's another example of a FUDD.
If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun, have the shells, a 12-gauge shotgun, and I promise you, as I told my wife, we live in an area that's wooded and somewhat secluded. I said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony here or walk out, put that double-barrel shotgun and fire 2 blasts outside the house. I promise you, who's ever coming in is not going to... You don't need an AR-15. It's harder to aim, it's harder to use, and in fact, you don't need 30 rounds to protect yourself. Buy a shotgun.
So Tim Walz thought, I know how I'll win folks over. I'll do a pheasant hunting photo op. I'll slap on some blaze orange, grab a shotgun, and boom, I'll become a 2A god. Except, watching Walz try to pull off this little stunt was like watching someone try to convince you they're a world-class chef and then burning ramen noodles. Look, I can tell if someone knows guns the second they pick them up. I mean, look at the way he's holding the shotgun. You can literally feel the awkwardness. He's holding the shotgun like he just picked up a tampon. Meanwhile, the guy next to him was carrying his like he's been here before.
Right. Gotta say this is the first for a pheasant hunt for
I
me.
know.
Happens all the time here hunting.
So we were saying, Matt, when it was Scott and I, just the 2 of us, it was a little different.
Yeah, I'll bet.
They're working. Those guys are ready to go.
What you need there? Okay. Keep walking. Okay, we can do that. All right.
He might as well have been waving that thing around like a magic wand. He damn near muzzled his homeboy. Honestly, the only thing in danger that day were the people unfortunate enough to stand too close to him. No pheasants were harmed. No birds were even seen. For all I know, this whole thing was filmed on a soundstage somewhere in Hollywood. You see, this is what annoys me about these Second Amendment butter types. You know the ones. They hit you with, I support the Second Amendment, but, and then proceed to rattle off every anti-gun policy in the book. When they do try to prove they're pro-2A, it's always with some bougie elitist form of hunting. Tim Walz wasn't slogging through the woods for deer or climbing a mountain for elk. He was pheasant hunting. Now, don't get it twisted. I have a streak of bougie in me also, and I'll go pheasant hunting with the quickness. But let's not act like it's some backcountry survival adventure. If Walz had rolled up with an AR-15 for some hog hunting, then maybe we'd be talking. Go run through the mud, crawl through brush, and try stalking a deer or an elk.
This is not my world. So for me, it was eye-opening, to say the least.
But no, Tim thought, let's take a scenic stroll through some tall grass and call it a day. He wasn't hunting birds. This fool was hunting cameras. But here's what really blows my mind. This was supposed to be a photo op. Like, Tim, you knew the cameras were there. You had one job. Look competent for 5 minutes. Hell, you could have practiced this off camera. Yet, you somehow managed to capture your own incompetence on purpose. This was a masterclass in how not to fake being a gun guy. Keep in mind, this is the same guy who said this nonsense.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and Dad said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
If Walz picked up an AR-15 today, I guarantee it would look 10 times worse than whatever was going on with that shotgun. Everything he had on, from the boots to the blaze orange vest, looked like it was bought 15 minutes before they hit record. I bet some poor staffer ran into Academy Sports like, we need hunting stuff, stat. They probably grabbed the first shotgun they saw and told Walz, just smile and look manly, Governor. He looked like a struggle Saint Laurent model on a hunting-themed runway show. Every hunter I know has gear that tells a story. Meanwhile, Walz is out here in fresh, off-the-rack gear like he's posing for an Instagram photo. Walz is spouting the kind of nonsense we've come to expect from FUDDs, the gun guy who claims to support the Second Amendment, but only for shotguns and hunting rifles. Yeah, sure. As long as it's not black with evil plastic on it, he's cool with it. Damn. It just hit me. Tim Walz is a tactical gun racist. It's 2024, Tim. We're out here using AR-15s for everything. Hunting, home defense, recreational shooting, and you're stuck in the 1950s chasing silly wabbits. At the end of the day, this whole stunt was exactly what it looked like. A desperate attempt to seem relatable while pandering to people who know better. If Walz really believed in the Second Amendment, he wouldn't have to stage some hokey pheasant hunt to prove it. His actions would speak louder than his awkward photo shoots. But hey, at least it gave us a good laugh. And for those of you out there who are pheasant hunters, hog hunters, deer hunters, whatever you're hunting, I got the perfect hearing protection for you on those hunts. You see, one thing about Walz that he didn't do was he wasn't wearing the appropriate ear protection either. You see, the AKT1s, my favorite in-ear wireless Bluetooth hearing protection, would have suited him just fine, and any other hunter just fine, because they have a 25 dB rating, and they also have active blocking, and they also have transparency mode, which allows you to hear what's going on around you while having a beautifully long battery life, and at the same time, you could listen to your music, you can take a phone call, you name it. So I'm going to put a link in the description section so you guys can check out my favorite all-time wireless Bluetooth in-ear hearing protection, the AKT1. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you, and we're all fighting this culture war together. Now, you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least one person. Together, we can stop the suppression of our 2A rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.